Hello and welcome back to the Courtroom Advocate channel. Today I want us to discuss why so many cases that have come to court on child abuse are failing. So many child abusers are getting away with it and then they continue abusing children. Why is it happening? One of the reasons I've come across is late reporting, where we come to report the matter when it's too late in the day. So you'll hear people coming to say, my child was abused a year ago. I know if we have enough evidence, we could still get a conviction, but chances are very slim that we are going to get any evidence on this matter. So there's a whole lot where parents or caregivers learn about abuse, but they sit on that information until when it's too late. It is important that matters of abuse, when they are discovered, they are reported immediately. That way, evidence can be picked at the earliest and preserved. That brings me to the second point: poor collection and storage of evidence. So you find, maybe there are clothes involved which are soiled with blood, but you pick them and put them in paper bags, the nylon bags. That destroys the DNA in the blood or any discharges that were on those clothes. So how do we handle such evidence? There are different ways of handling it. Do not put it actually, I see other people in return tying them in, newspapers. And what happens is that the ink in the newspaper actually bleeds into these clothes and interferes with the DNA. So the right way is to put it in a brown bag that has no any paints or anything that can get into the clothes or can interfere with the evidence. So how we collect the evidence, how we store it, is very important. I remember in court at one point, an investigation officer being asked about evidence and the chain of handling the evidence, and it was not clear how we record it, who picked it, who took it where, who took it to the government chemist. And we see a lot of that is missing, and the end of it is that abusers are getting away with such cases, and also now exposing children to further abuse. The other thing is intimidation by family, where in a family abuse is discovered, and then the family actually works together to ensure they cover up the evidence. This happens especially when a child is abused by somebody close in the family. It could be a father, it could be, even mothers, or a relative, a close relative. We have seen that there's a lot of intimidation that comes with it, telling them they cannot report. No, this is a family matter. Let us resolve it at a family level. And and they're told, if you go report, it means you're no longer part of this family, you're against this family. So a lot of abusers are getting away with it because they're using that line of family to ensure that abuse is not handled or it's not reported. And when it even comes to court, there are those who have the courage to go report the matter, but when it comes now to the court process, there are blockages to them coming to give evidence, and they are told, if you appear in court to give evidence, we'll either harm you or we'll denounce you in the family. And and sometimes I've even seen where now they get reasons, the other family members get reasons why they start saying, you're bringing this because of this other thing. And so a lot of intimidation. So you end up finding that a child who was abused comes to court and renounces their case, renounces what was happening, and children are quite intimidated, and they are told, no, you can't do that. You can't do that to your so and so, they are our relatives. But we're not considering that this person actually harmed that child, so they actually deserve what they are going through. So I've seen a lot of that intimidation, but I would say let us give the law the chance to act, because you might protect that person today, they will harm you tomorrow, or harm somebody also who is very close and dear to you. The other thing I've seen that has been making it hard to get convictions on abuse cases is language. So we have formed a colloquial language, how we call private parts, and every a household has a way of calling it. And unfortunately, the defense counsels have taken this in and they're using it as a defense. So, for instance, I once sat in a court and I was amazed that the defense counsel was willing that dudu is only an insect. It can only be a cockroach, it cannot be a penis or a vagina, it can be only an insect. And they really pressed the issue, and this is a child. So when the defense counsel draws a cockroach and asks them, what is this, the child say dudu. So is this the dudu you're referring to? And it might sound so petty, but actually they get away with that. So it can be used as a defense. So what language are you teaching your children to call their private parts? Because really that will affect them. Even if anything happens to them, they are not able to express themselves in court. So when it comes to court matters, let children be able to express themselves. Just the same way we call a hand, not a fork, not anything else, is how we should teach our children to call their private part the right names. The other thing I've seen being a handle is re-stigmatization. There's this thing about re-interviewing children over and over and over. So the first time, whoever discovered it interviewed them, then they called their aunt who interviewed them, then they called somebody who interviewed them, and then by the time they're getting to the police station who interviews them, they're handed to this officer, later on to that officer. The officer who writes a statement is a different one. What happens to that child is that by the time they're coming to court, they have several versions of the incidents. Why? Because sometimes one person might ask a question and she's thinking, maybe I said it wrong, maybe it was blue. Someone else will, it could be colors, and maybe she says blue and somebody asks, oh, are you sure? And then of course, because she's a child, she might say, it was. And when you start creating those doubts, one, you interfere with the evidence. So by the time, I've seen so many children, by the time they're coming to tell their story in court, their side to give their evidence in court, the first statement they wrote and what they are telling is totally different. But it's not because the child is necessarily lying about it. It's because there are so many people who have interviewed them. So you have gone to the police station, you have reported, but when you go home, you get other people to come interview them, and then you keep making the child repeat the story. You could be thinking that you're making the child remember, but actually you're confusing them, and they may end up adding unnecessary details or details that were not there. So if you discover an abuse, do not question the child over and over about it, because what you're doing, you're interfering with their memories of the event. The other one I've seen is I've mentioned about family intimidation, but also general even intimidation of witnesses that is happening across many cases. So where somebody wrote a statement, but when it comes to the matter, they do not want to appear in court because maybe money exchanged hands and so on. So we now have the Witness Protection Act and a body to offer that. So if you're a witness and you're feeling threatened, you should reach out through the prosecutor. You should reach out to the prosecutor handling the matter and say, I feel threatened, how can you help me? And you can be helped so that abusers do not get away. The other main one is delay in trial. I remember a matter I handled, and the mother of the victim told me, this matter has dragged now for 5 years. I'm tired. I do not want to deal with this. Don't call me again. Don't, I just let it just go, And unfortunately, there's quite a big backlog of cases in our courtrooms. So things feel like the long delay in for them to come give evidence, also for the matter to end, continue to traumatize them, and they feel they just need to get on with their lives. They need to start the healing process, and the court trial might not be of help. So those are some of the things I've come across that are hindering these abuses. So if you're one of the actors in the system, ensure that you look out for the children so that we do not let go loose of child abuse and put our children to more risk. Thanks for watching. Look out for the next video.